How do we bring the frequencies on the map? Space, open filters. You need only these two. Fix entire nav position, reports and nav aids. Backspace. Which are the ILS frequencies? They are on the threshold of the runway. So these two must be the ILS frequencies. Runway 05 and runway 23. Which is the ILS frequency of runway 5? This one here or this one here? 50%. The ILS frequency of runway 05, this one here, must be on the other side of the runway, this one here, because the transmitter transmits to the direction of runway 05. So which is the runway frequency of runway 05 from the other side of the runway? Localizer DME 110.30. And which is the ILS frequency of runway 23? This one here. It is again from the other side of the runway. The frequency is 109.70, which means that, as I always used to say, you must keep notes and write somewhere down runway 05, 110.30, and runway 23, 109.70, which means that the airport has an ILS approach from both sides of the runway. And while we will be waiting our flight to load, another tricky question: do we need a flight plan? Do we need to set the airport where we will land as an arrival? Think about it. So we will depart from runway 05, which means that we will land on runway 23 with an ILS approach. And the answer to the question if we need the flight plan or not is that we don't need a flight plan, because we will use the transmitter and the ILS frequency will guide us to the threshold of our runway. However, we have to set both our ILS frequencies. How do we do this? Please be attentive. We go here, flight plan, not the frequencies, the communication frequencies, but the navigation frequencies. Navigation 1. The frequency of runway 5 is 110.30, 110.30. Transfer. And the frequency of runway 23 is 109.70. So once again, 109.70. Transfer. So we see here active frequency that if I press transfer, we have both our frequencies, 110.30 and 109.70. Of course, I can use both these frequencies as a backup, which means that I go again to flight plan and I press navigation 2 frequencies here. And once again, I set 110.30, transfer. Yeah, it is already set, I think, 109.70, isn't it? Yes, exactly. Transfer. So we see that we have again both our frequencies, 109.70 and 110.30, which means that I can as well use navigation 1 or navigation 2. Let us go once again to flight plan, navigation 1. This is exactly what we will use. And since we will land on runway 23, we set as our ILS frequency 109.70. Don't forget that we depart from runway 05 and we will have a 180 degrees turn. Okay, so far so good. So now we must proceed to the autopilot setup. Here is the autopilot. We set that in order to bring the autopilot features, we press here. Here are the indications. I hope my cursor is visible. Which of these modes shall we set in standby since our autopilot is not yet activated? Well, the most important of all is the heading mode. We must keep the heading of the runway that we will depart from. And how do we do this? Though this is not a tutorial about the keyboard shortcuts for the autopilot, anyhow, it is Alt plus H. Please have a look here at this cyan sign on the compass, Alt plus H. You see, this is the heading of the runway right now. Not extremely precise because runway 05 and here it shows 056, but anyhow, it is not that important. Flight director is on as we see. Are we good to go? No, we are not good to go. We will also set an altitude of, let's say, 3,500 feet. I will use the commands once again. I have showed this thing so many times. Here is the altitude, so let's say an altitude of 3,500 feet. And here is the rate of ascent, let's say a rate of ascent, something steep, about 800 feet will be just fine. Which means that the autopilot is not engaged and we have on standby mode the heading of the runway, our altitude, which will be 3,500 feet, and a rate of ascent of 800. And once again the question is, are we good to go or not? Well, the truth is that we cannot depart yet because we don't have a flight plan, and here on the compass we see that it is set the GPS mode, which we don't need, isn't it? Because we don't have a flight plan, we will not follow any waypoints. So that means that we press here and we change the CDI source from GPS mode to lock mode. This is the mode that we will use in order to land, the ILS mode, the lock mode. And as we see, the arrow here, this green arrow, shows from the other side of the runway, because this is exactly where we will land. We will land on runway 23 and we depart from runway 05. So this time I think we are good to go, and let's go for it. Let us disengage our parking brakes. First scale of flaps only. Okay. Gear is retracted. Always check this out. Yes, it is. And I activate the autopilot. Exactly. As you see, autopilot is engaged and we are climbing to 3,500 feet. My new camera setup for the Icon A5. A wonderful scenery that I haven't revealed yet. And we can see that the glide slope already appeared here, this green rhombus, this sign here, this green caret. Only the interesting parts of the flight, needless to say this. At the moment we are on heading mode, we have the heading mode on the autopilot. And we're climbing to 3,500 feet. I can as well change this to 3,000 feet exactly, okay? I think I will change my frequency. No hard feelings, no hard feelings. How do we do this? Yeah, these things I have also said 1,000 times. So we go here, we change slightly the second frequency, okay, and we just press swap. Here it is. I think that no one will bother us right now. And meanwhile, as you see, we stabilized at exactly 3,000 feet. Let us enjoy the scenery, though this is not our priority right now. A new wonderful camera for the Icon A5. So it is about time to turn 180 degrees. 23 is our runway, isn't it? 230. Okay. We can as well turn slightly more, because I see here on the lock mode there is some deviation, and I can as well start descending to 2500 feet. Changed my heading again slightly. And I can continue descending, because I see we are above the glide slope, so I think 2100 feet will be just fine. Have a look here at the localizer, you see. Let us go to approach mode. Hands-free, of course. And I want to believe that soon we will line up with the runway. The plane is descending because we use the approach mode at the moment. So we follow the ILS frequency actually. Please have a look now here exactly. You see the glide slope. Okay, again I activate approach and we're good to land. We are perfectly lined up. I will extend my gear. Good. It is good to monitor our speed slightly after the installation of the Autopilot and the Garmin G3X Touch. We must slightly increase our speed during landing, not 65 knots, but it can as well be something like 75 or 80. Yeah, everything is perfect. Not the proper time to play with my cameras, I know, but I have this bad habit. I can resist to this wonderful scenery, which is a bespoke airport, of course, and scenery for the town. Good. I set the first scale of flaps, though
500.
The truth is that it is better not to have your flaps extended when you land with the Icon A5. I'm still hands-free. I will not record my landing. Okay, autopilot disengaged. I retract my flaps. You don't flare with this plane, I have said this 1,000 times. Yeah, this plane is tricky. I have still some runway left. Okay. Touch and go, isn't it? We will depart again. Let's go for it. We go to land now from the other side of the runway, okay? We will use the other ILS frequency. So, I retract the gear. I retract my flaps. I go again to heading mode, okay? Now this is slightly more complicated because I must also have the control of the plane. So I press Alt, I activate my autopilot, and let us have Now an altitude of 2500 feet. We are on heading mode at this time, and the rate of descent of about 700 feet per minute. Excellent. So once again everything is on autopilot, and this time we will land from the other side of the runway, runway 23, and we will have again an ILS approach. Even less, 1800 feet. A bespoke scenery, a paver scenery. You can also have a look at another clip, a flight tour during the night. And now please don't forget that we must change the ILS frequency, isn't it? We go here, flight plan, we go nav mode, and this time our frequency will be 110.30, not 109.70. So I press here transfer, isn't it? Excellent. You see, again, the arrow shows from the other side, because now we will land on runway 05. So soon, once again, we will be turning, which means that we bring the autopilot features, pressing here. This is a kind of MCDU, multiple control display unit. And so once again I turn to 05, isn't it? 50 degrees. I keep an eye on the needle here. We see again the glide slope, the new glide slope this time, isn't it? We are again on heading mode at the moment. I can as well change my heading. This green line here shows the deviation. Okay, approach. Exactly. We saw that the green caret was on the middle here on the compass, which is the ideal position. We are again hands-free. I had the test flight earlier, and I think that both sides of the runway have an ILS frequency which is operational. As I used to say, the fact that you have two ILS frequencies or even one doesn't mean that the ILS frequency works. I mean, you must have both the vertical and lateral guidance, as we see here at the moment. We are on autopilot, and we left heading mode, and we went to localizer mode at the moment, glide slope and localizer mode, which means that we have an ILS approach. Here is the green caret, which is the most important of all, exactly here. This is the best position, and I think I can as well once again extend my gear, and we are good to land from the other side of the runway, which is runway 23. Exactly. Excuse me, this is runway 05. Please excuse. We already landed on the runway 23. Now we land on runway 05 this time. And we have a perfect guidance. We see the runway right in front of us. We are hands-free, and soon we will disengage our autopilot. Always check that your gear is down. I extended first scale of flaps in order to reduce my speed slightly.
500.
Don't forget that this plane doesn't flare. And you can as well have a look here at your angle of attack. Not that perfectly lined up, but still we are on autopilot. Okay. So now we land from the other side of the runway, which is runway 05. Excellent. Okay, good. Can I turn? The brakes of the Icon 5 are not the best. Okay. Ah, my Lithuanian Airbus. The best gift, the best Christmas gift is this one. My beloved Lithuanian Airbus appeared here. I will not reveal the airport, but we are in Asia. Whenever I see this plane, okay, it brings some kind of happiness. I will park, of course, somewhere nearby, and I think this will be all for now. Okay, I don't need much precision here. Wonderful textures, by the way. Here is my Lithuanian Airbus. Here she is. Excellent. Let me set my parking brakes. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think this will be all for now. We will have a recapitulation of the most important things that you must already know in order to use the Garmin G3X Touch and to perform an ILS landing. Once again, please keep notes. As you see, we have already disengaged the autopilot. This is the initial setup, and the first thing that you have to do is to set the ILS frequencies. How do we do this? We go here, light plan, and then we set here the two ILS frequencies, nav1 and nav2. You press here, navigation 1, 110.30 and 109.70. So let us change them, 109.70. Transfer, not enter, and 110.30. Again, transfer. So now if we press here, we see that we have the two ILS frequencies, 109.70 and 110.30. We can as well save these frequencies again as a backup. How do we do this? We go again here, pressing here on the compass, isn't it? I mean, you know these things already, I hope, isn't it? So you press here on the compass in order to change the mode. And then you go again flight plan, and this time you choose navigation 2. And you set again the same frequencies. Let us say 109.70. You don't have to press point. There is no point actually, isn't it? Transfer and 118.30. Here it is. So now we have these frequencies both on navigation 1 and navigation 2, which are both, of course, in standby mode. Okay. We also said that when we take off, we go here on the MCDU, let's say, kind of MCDU is this one, multiple control display unit here. and you press here inside, and this brings the features of the autopilot. Flight director must be on. Your damper in general you deactivate if it is on during landing, and you set, let's say, I didn't have to have a flight plan as I explained to you already, so I use the commands. You set, let's say, an altitude, have a look here, of 3,200 feet or 3,000 feet better, and also pressing here. Okay, let us forget the commands because usually I use the keyboard shortcuts. You press here, vertical speed, it will be a rate of ascent. Okay, I will show you also how to do this with the knobs here. So nose up, isn't it, here? Okay, rate of ascent of, let's say, 800 feet. And when you take off, you activate the autopilot, which will bring you to 3,000 feet with a rate of ascent of 800 feet. And yes, I think I forgot the heading mode, isn't it? Right now we are on lock mode. So you also set the heading of the runway that you will depart from here. Okay, this is just an example, isn't it? Our runway is not, let's say, 15. And when you will get airborne, you activate the autopilot. Now, when you are about to land, right now, for instance, if you were inside the plane, you would follow the heading mode, isn't it? But when you see this green caret, which must be somewhere here, if you're perfectly lined up, if you see it somewhere here in the middle, okay, you go here and you activate approach. And you just monitor the instruments. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is all for now. Thank you for watching this clip and hope to see you soon to the next one. Till then, you take care and bye for now.